Money must become a worker, not a decoration. Most people never understand this simple principle. They treat money like something to display, something to feel good about, something to talk about. They save it, they count it, they brag about it, but they rarely use it the way wealth builders do. Money was never meant to sit still. Money is a tool of movement and growth. Money that doesn't move dies slowly to inflation, and money that doesn't grow keeps you trapped in the same cycle of work, stress, and survival. The people who stay broke aren't always the ones with the lowest income. Often, they're the ones who don't teach their money how to work. Think of every dollar as an employee. When you keep your money lying idle, it's like hiring someone and telling them to sit in the corner and stare at the wall all day. That employee brings you nothing, no results, no progress, but when you invest, wisely, patiently, you're giving those employees a job. You're sending them out to work for you, and the more effectively you deploy your money, the more employees you create, and the harder they work on your behalf. The wealthy understand this. They don't look at money emotionally. They look at it structurally. They ask, where can this dollar work? Where can it grow? What value can it create while I'm living my life? The poor and middle class often get caught in the habit of working for money, while the wealthy shift to making money work for them. This is the difference between trading time and building leverage. Time is finite. Money, if invested correctly, is not. If you rely only on your labor, your income has a ceiling. If you rely on your money working for you, the ceiling disappears. That's why the wealthy talk about assets, not income. They don't care about showing a luxurious lifestyle. They care about building a structure that generates returns indefinitely. They know the game. The first dollars you earn should be invested, not displayed. When you use money purely for consumption, it ends the moment you spend it. That feels good temporarily, but it buys nothing lasting. Buying the newest phone, the newest shoes, or the newest trend gives a feeling of status, but that feeling dissolves quickly. Buying things for decoration, physical or social, keeps you stuck chasing more. You enter a loop where money becomes a symbol, not a tool. Money shouldn't be used to impress people who don't care about your life. It should be used to build freedom for your future self. The moment you stop treating money like decoration, things change. You start seeing opportunities everywhere. You start thinking in terms of ROI instead of impulse. You start asking better questions. Should I buy this? Or should I invest in something that pays me later? You begin to understand that every unnecessary purchase steals from your future wealth. Every time you choose immediate pleasure over long-term growth, you're taking your most loyal employee and firing them before they can produce results. What wealthy people do differently is simple. They treat money like seeds. If you eat seeds, they're gone. If you plant them, they grow into trees that produce more seeds, and those seeds grow into forests. This is how compounding works. It starts slow, almost invisible, but over time it becomes unstoppable. $1 grows into 2, 2 grows into 4, 4 into 8, and suddenly your money works harder than you ever did. This is the point where wealth stops being a dream and becomes a system, your system. Money working for you doesn't mean gambling, guessing, or chasing hype. It means making educated, patient choices. It means understanding that small investments done consistently beat large investments done emotionally. It means building habits that turn your income into freedom. Once your money begins producing more money, you're no longer stuck in the cycle of working just to survive. You're working to thrive. If your money isn't working, you become the laborer. If your money isn't growing, your time becomes the sacrifice. But when your money works day and night, you begin to reclaim your freedom. You buy back your time. You buy back your choices. The goal is not to hoard money. The goal is to turn your money into leverage. Money is useless until it works. Once it starts working, you start living. Most people spend their entire lives putting their money into things that disappear the moment they purchase them. They buy comfort, distraction, and status, thinking these will give them satisfaction. But anything that consumes your money without giving something back is a silent thief. It takes from your future to give you a few seconds of pleasure. What truly changes your life is investing in things that compound, things that grow in value, skill, or opportunity over time. The greatest power in wealth building is compounding, and yet it's the power most people ignore because it seems too slow and too simple. But everything great in life is built through slow, steady, invisible growth long before it looks impressive. Compounding isn't just a financial principle, it's a life principle. It applies to skills, habits, relationships, reputation, and money. When you invest in yourself, when you invest in assets, when you invest in growth, you create something that continues giving back to you without needing constant effort. The world rewards people who understand compounding because they stop trading their time for temporary pleasures and start investing their resources into things that multiply. The wealthy don't look for things that make them feel rich today. They look for things that make them richer tomorrow. The problem is that consumption feels good instantly. That's why it's dangerous. You get a quick dopamine hit, a new phone, new clothes, a new car, a night out, a status purchase, but that feeling dies fast. And the money you spent dies with it. Consumption wants attention, but compounding works quietly in the background. Consumption gives you the illusion of progress, but compounding gives you the reality of progress. To build wealth, you must learn to delay shallow rewards for deeper ones. When you invest in what compounds, you're placing value on the future version of yourself. You're saying, I believe my tomorrow is worth more than a moment's distraction today. That mindset is rare, but it's the difference between people who build wealth and those who merely dream about it. People who invest in what consumes become stuck in cycles of paycheck living, always needing more because their life is designed around fleeting satisfaction. People who invest in what compounds break free from that cycle because their assets begin paying them back, not once, but again and again. Compounding works because time multiplies your effort. A small investment in learning today can turn into massive capability in a few years. A small amount consistently placed into investments can turn into a fortune over decades. A small habit practiced daily can change your entire identity. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years and overestimate what they can achieve in one. That's why compounding is so misunderstood. It rewards patience, consistency, and discipline, traits that modern life rarely encourages. When you invest in assets, whether it's a skill, a business, or financial instruments, you create something that produces value without needing your constant presence. Skills compound because they open doors you didn't know existed. Knowledge compounds because it increases your decision-making power. Money compounds because returns grow on top of returns. Even your mindset compounds. The more you learn and grow, the more opportunities you can see, and the more you can seize. To invest in what compounds, you must start by eliminating things that silently drain your resources. Every unnecessary purchase slows your compounding down. Every impulsive decision steals from your future. Every moment you choose comfort over growth becomes a moment that sets you back. Compounding requires intention. It requires understanding that the first phase will feel slow. You won't see results immediately. It may even feel like nothing is happening, but compounding doesn't reveal its power in the beginning. It reveals it in the end. Small steps today create huge leaps later. The secret is consistency. A little bit of money invested monthly grows. A little bit of skill built daily evolves. A little bit of discipline practiced regularly transforms you. Compounding is the engine of long-term wealth, and the earlier you start, the more powerful it becomes. But even if you start late, it still works, because compounding doesn't judge when you start. It only responds to how consistently you continue. When you commit to compounding, you stop trying to look rich and start working on becoming rich. You stop chasing instant gratification and start building long-term freedom. You stop caring about what people think and start focusing on building a life where you don't need anyone's approval. Wealth doesn't come from consuming. Wealth comes from planting seeds that grow into forests. Your job is simple. Invest in what compounds. Invest in your knowledge, your skills, your health, your business, your savings, and your mindset. Everything that grows will eventually pay you back in ways consumption never can. Let compounding be your quiet engine. Let time become your partner. Because when you invest in what compounds, your future becomes bigger than your past, and your life becomes something you build, not something you react to. Learn the game before you play it, because the world does not reward effort alone, it rewards understanding. You can work harder than everyone around you, wake up earlier, sleep later, and grind endlessly. But if you don't understand the rules of the game you're in, you'll always feel like you're running in circles. Money, business, investing, success, none of these are random. They all follow patterns, they all have systems, and those who take the time to understand the system always outperform the ones who simply try to push their way through with raw effort. You don't win by working harder. You win by becoming smarter about where and how you apply that work. Most people enter the financial world emotionally, not intelligently. They see others making money and jump in out of fear of missing out. They copy what everyone else is doing. They follow trends because it feels safe. But safety in crowds is an illusion. The crowd is usually late. By the time the masses notice something, the opportunity has already been priced in. The ones who benefit are the people who understood the game long before everyone else started paying attention. That's why learning is the ultimate leverage. Knowledge reduces your mistakes, sharpens your decisions, and gives you clarity while others are panicking or guessing. If you don't understand the game, then you become the game. Markets will play you, businesses will outmaneuver you, people will take advantage of your lack of awareness. The world doesn't wait for you to catch up. It rewards those who arrive prepared. Every field, finance, entrepreneurship, investing, personal development, has its own set of rules. When you learn those rules, the game becomes predictable. When you ignore them, the game becomes painful. Learning the game means studying before acting. It means reading, listening, observing, and understanding the structure behind outcomes. Most people obsess over results, but results are just symptoms. What truly matters is the process that produces them. If you want wealth, study how wealth is created. If you want freedom, study how freedom is earned. If you want opportunity, study how opportunity is recognized. The more you understand the mechanics behind success, the less you rely on luck, and the more you rely on informed strategy. People who don't learn the game fall into predictable traps. They chase high, risk investments because someone told them it's a shortcut. They buy things they don't understand because everyone else is doing it. They start businesses without knowing how markets work, how customers think, or how value is created. They panic when things fall and brag when things rise, but their reactions come from emotion, not from knowledge. Emotion-based decisions are the most expensive mistakes you can make because they blind you to reality. Understanding the game gives you confidence, not the loud, insecure confidence that comes from pretending you know everything, but the quiet confidence that comes from genuine competence. When you truly understand something, you no longer fear uncertainty. You no longer panic when conditions change. You no longer depend on others to tell you what to do. You make decisions based on principles, not impulses. That's the kind of confidence that builds wealth. The people who win over the long term aren't the ones who guess correctly. They're the ones who learn relentlessly. They read widely. They ask questions. They think deeply. They look for patterns instead of noise. They focus on fundamentals instead of hype. They observe before they act. They understand that every mistake made from ignorance is avoidable, and every bit of knowledge acquired increases their advantage forever. Knowledge compounds even faster than money. Every new insight connects with previous insights, creating an expanding network of understanding that makes the world easier to navigate. Learning the game also means understanding yourself. You need to know your risk tolerance, your strengths, your weaknesses, your blind spots. If you don't understand your own psychology, you'll lose to people who do. Emotional discipline is part of the game. Patience is part of the game. Knowing when to act and when to wait is part of the game. Success is not about always being active, it's about being wise enough to act only when it truly matters. When you learn the game, you realize that wealth is not a mystery, it's a skill. You see that opportunities are everywhere. You just weren't trained to notice them. You understand that most people lose not because they lack potential, but because they lack knowledge. You realize that taking the time to understand something deeply pays off for the rest of your life. So learn before you leap, study before you spend, observe before you act. The world is a series of games, and every game has rules. If you learn them, you play with strategy. If you ignore them, you play with luck. And luck is never a long-term plan, knowledge is.